So, welcome to the Immersive Theater of Learning, where the magic of theater meets the power of learning. So, it's a series. So, I do this every month. And we have one regular uh, visitor, guest, participant here, Carolyn, and we have a lot of new people. So, welcome, Jerome, welcome, Teresa, welcome, Tobias. And first of all, welcome Jennifer. Jennifer, who is my guest today. And welcome Marisul. How are
Thank
you?
you. Thank you. It's so nice to see you after a long time.
Yes, yes, that's right. So Marisul is a very special guest today because he was my student about 1 year ago in France, in the north of France, in an international summer program, which is happening again this year, but without you, I suppose, with a new cohort. I'm looking forward to this. And the theme was a little bit related also to what we're doing today. So I will bring you into the conversation a little bit later on. Um, so the theme that Jennifer and I came up with is the future is a story we build together. So it's a little bit about storytelling and future thinking. And it's kind of an interesting continuation because last time Caroline was here, we talked about the present, the present moment, the here and now, and different time cultures. And we had Diana Franco from Colombia who shared something about her experience with working with indigenous people and totally different time culture, really being in the here and now and difficult to follow through with the program she had about learning. Here we go. So more people are entering the room. I always start these sessions with a little bit of a warmer and a little bit of an activity which challenges the participants. And I can pride myself to say that nobody has actually left the meetings after when I announce these, because this is what often happens, right? So I would like us to build a museum in, let's say, 2045, a museum in the future. And I would like each of you to add an exhibit, to add one item from 2026 that you think will have disappeared in 2045. And and so more people are coming in. Hello, B. How are you?
Good. Hi, everybody.
Good to see
Hi,
you.
B.
And hello also Ronnie and Shiwen. I hope I pronounced this correctly. And so my prompt for you was to find an item. An item. If you have it in the room, you can show it. Otherwise, just think of something that we could introduce to the museum of 2045 as an exhibit that shows people how what has disappeared, what we still have in 2026, but what will have disappeared by then. And as an example, I have a fossil fuel bill. So something I went to the so I basically filled my car, and so first of all, a paper receipt, right? So maybe that will have disappeared, but then also fossil fuel, maybe, hopefully, will have disappeared by then, right? So that's my example. I give you a little bit of time to think. Hello, Aliona. We're looking for exhibits for a museum in 2045 that will show something that we still have today, but will have disappeared by then, like a fossil fuel receipt. That's the example I gave. So let's take a few minutes to think. B is already looking around her.
Cat. Looking at my cat.
Oh, the cat will hopefully still be there. Okay, there we go. So anybody who has an idea can jump in.
Frank, could you repeat the year?
Sorry?
In which year? The museum in,
2045.
or it was like in 20 years, 19.
Yeah,
Okay.
19 years. Okay, we could have said 46. So in 20 years from now, what will have disappeared? So B,
I
you already have something, right? B.
Yeah, I do. I have this taser tape. I think this will be extinct by then, that we're using tape for anything.
Right. Okay. So how do you think things will stick?
In a variety of ways, but I don't think it's going to be any sort of thing that you can throw away or
Yeah.
that is just sort of trash,
Yeah.
that can become trash.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Fantastic.
I'm going in a similar direction. I don't know if any of you know these, but this is a glow stick for
Mm.
parties. I don't know if you've seen one of those lately, but I still have a lot of them from a party I had lately. And I think these will no longer exist because plastic will be obsolete. Maybe they will exist in a different way, but I think in 20 years, plastic will be history,
Mm.
probably.
Mm. Okay. Wonderful. Anybody else would? Yes, Aliona.
I think we won't have this anymore. And if we have anything like with the same function, it will look completely different. Maybe smaller, maybe something we wear, maybe like just the watch or something integrated into our ear, but not like this.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yes. Maybe they will still exist, but they will be for the future boomers, right? So people like us, right? Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a mouse.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think they are not gonna fit in 20
Uh,
years. We will have all holograms and all this virtual stuff. So,
Yeah.
which is I don't know, which is good because I don't know, but if it's the same for you, but my hand always aches after some time using the mouse, and I've tried different kinds like this one as well, orthopedic ones, and it's still really painful after some time.
Hmm. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, probably we would just have, tables where you can, tactile tables or something.
yeah.
I stopped using a mouse years ago, so I just use a touchpad, which
Yeah.
works quite well. But it's a question of, yes, Jerome has something interesting.
I have my keys. I think these will be completely obsolete soon, and people will look at this and think it's a baby's chew toy
Yes.
or a toddler's toy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay. So Ronnie had to drop. Okay. Here we go. Tobias.
Yes, this is an SD reader or SD card reader or basically hard drive kind of thing. I really hope that they're going away soon, maybe even before 20 years ago. But yeah, I mean, it's still sometimes nice to carry them around. But in principle, I hope that everything goes to the cloud and is immediately available wherever I am, which most of my files are. But for some like video production or something, I still have the SD cards.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Caroline, have you got an idea?
I'm kind of going in the other direction because if something happens to the internet, to connectivity, etc., and I think it's very possible, we just need a couple of satellites shot down, and where are we going to be? We're going to be back to having to use other types of communication.
Mm, yes.
So, so I don't know what would be in the museum. Well, all the stuff that you guys have put as disappearing, but me for a different reason.
Mm, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So that's also another hope that we can have for 2045 that people will actually look for real connections and not just likes and virtual connections. Virtual is great. I mean, like talking to one another here, but that's a different kind of connection than just having a status update and likes and so on.
May I just comment on what Carolyn just said? I thought about that too. Even when I showed my phones, like, oh, if we still have that opportunity to connect with each other. And it was just the other day I had a conversation with my daughter, and I told her, like, it may happen that there is an outage. It can be as simple as an outage to take everything down. Or it may be something bigger, and if it happens in a bigger scale, and we were talking about something that she won't lose. Like
Mm.
what should she invest into? Something that cannot be taken from her. Well, and I was trying to get her to say like knowledge and stuff.
Yeah, wonderful. Yes, Jennifer.
I read somewhere when the Iran War did start in the Strait of Hormuz, that there's apparently a lot of the world's internet cables is going through this strait. And that's one of the very real problems we could have, is that they just cut the connection of, I think it's 2/3 of the world's internet connection cables. Like, it's a huge amount. And I think this is actually closer than most of us realize to happening at some point.
Yeah. And it's the Red Sea as well. They're looking for a northern route through icebergs, which really is too challenging.
Wonderful.
So
Okay. Varizul, are, I think, by far the youngest person here in this room. Uh, so what do you think will have disappeared in 2020, 2045?
The most immediate object that I can pick is a fob. I think this is something, it's quite similar to a key, but it's made of plastics, and I think plastics will very soon be obsolete. So I think this is an immediate choice that could be, a piece for a museum in 2045.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Wonderful. Right. Okay, fantastic. So we have one person who's not on camera, which is great. So absolutely no obligation to be on camera. You can just be here listening. Obviously, I will probably prompt you a little bit less because I think not being on camera is a signal, and that's absolutely fine. But if you want to participate, just open your mic and jump in or put something in the chat. So for those of you who are new here, first time, and that's quite a few, almost the majority or half, thanks to Jennifer and her invitations. Thank you. So this is an ongoing series. So something that will not have disappeared in 2045 is this series. So we will be then in season 43. This is season 4. And, and so it is once a month, and it was originally based on a book that I published in 2024 called The Immersive Theater of Learning. So like this series, and in this book, I claimed that learning and education and training and so on should be inspired by immersive experiences and become immersive itself, immersive in the sense of including emotions and including story. And both Jennifer and I, we are members of the World Experience Organization, where we hang out with quite a lot of people who, more than 1,000 now, I think, who work in the field of, and B as well. No, you are or were, no, not anymore. Okay. And with people in the experience field. And also for some of you, this may feel a little bit like the German invasion because Jennifer is based in Germany, right? I originally come from Germany. Tobias and Teresa are based in Germany as well. B as well. Different nationalities, different origins, but yeah, a lot of people are based in Germany. Fantastic. So I'm based in France. I think Varisul, you are in the UK right now. Caroline, you are in the States. Aliona as well. Jerome, where are you based?
I'm also in the United States.
Okay, fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, so Jennifer, what brought you to the field of learning? Can you tell me a little bit about your story and your connection to experience design? And yeah, tell me a bit about your journey. Tell us a bit about your journey.
So, when people go to university and they study certain subjects, and everybody expects them to become a teacher, I'm that kind of person. I studied English and history, so classical teacher subjects in university, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're going to be a teacher." And I was like, "No, I don't. I don't want to be a teacher." So, fast forward to, I think, 2016, probably, so 10 years ago, a bit less maybe. And I started being a freelancer. And I always thought it would be great to teach, to give something back to young people and teach at university. And in Germany, we have programs that make people from the industry basically come to university and teach whatever they know. And the funny part was like, I was like, I want to teach at university. And then the university was like, no, you don't have any experience in teaching. You can't teach here. And the next year, someone came to me and was like, I'm looking for a lecturer in social media storytelling. Please teach. So I started teaching there and then went back to the original university I asked and was like, I now have teaching experience. Please let me teach. And that's how I became a lecturer, basically. But I have always have a fondness for storytelling, and my way through business is kind of unconventional, I would say, because I started out, as I said, in history and English. Then I became an information broker at a local broadcaster, so between journalism and archives.
Mhm.
And then I went into corporate comms, which I hated. But storytelling was the big thing in corporate communications back then. So that was me reconnecting with story. I've been writing since I've been 15, but I never knew you could make a career out of it because I'm a working class child. So that's not something people get told in school. And so I just kind of made up my own job when I moved into learning from corporate communications. And I was like, I'm an educational storyteller. Hello, here I am. And that's basically how it also happened for me to just stumble my way into experience design, I would say. It just followed the storytelling and the future of storytelling. And it led me to the College of Extraordinary Experience.
Mhm.
And after I joined the WXO, and that's how we met.
Fantastic. And it was the first time actually this year in London that we really had the chance to exchange and to talk. Now, going back to your experience with university, I studied in Germany and I grew up in Germany, and at some stage I left Germany. Also, what we share is that I never wanted to become a teacher. And yes, so but at the time also when I was studying, everybody was telling me, well, you can't become a teacher anyway. Not because I lacked experience, because I'd never studied Latin, and I I so you have to know Latin to become a teacher. And what was the other reason? Yeah, I didn't have a pedagogical training, university
Mhm.
training. Is that still the case in Germany, or has that changed?
I mean, Latin is very much still the case. Do you want to know how long it took me to do Latin in university? I did
No.
Latin in 11 months.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's I only lived Latin for 11 months, and it's really funny because it's kind of a Stockholm syndrome situation because we had a really bad teacher, I would say, but we loved him because he, like, there were 130 people when I started, and I was among the 30 who actually made it through the course. So you were like thank you very much for getting me through the course, when in reality I got myself through this course, because I don't think it was the teacher's quality. As I would say, if like a dropout quote of 1/5 of the people is like 4/5 didn't make it, I'm pretty sure that's not good. So yeah, it's still a thing, and I can't teach at a school because I do not have the teacher's degree. So I think nowadays I could probably, because they're looking for teachers really badly because the system is as it is. So I think maybe I could have done that, but I don't want to. And the university, you have to have a master degree to be able to teach for most academies and universities.
Yeah, which is the case here in France as well. Sometimes it's even a bit tougher. So they now very often in universities they ask for a PhD, which I don't have. But I have the foreigner bonus and I have the age bonus, and I published a book about pedagogy, so that gives me access to quite a few things. But it's mainly
Bernd,
yeah,
isn't that a great place to start imagining the future of universities
absolutely.
together? Because I think we have a lot of people that are in education here.
Absolutely. We can go into this and then we come back to you. But first, I would like to bring Marisul in. So you are currently studying. You are a student.
All right.
So tell us a little bit about where you're based, what you're studying, maybe also where you're from originally.
I'm originally from Bangladesh, but right now I'm studying human resource management in Nottingham Trent University, and I'm someone that's, always curious to learn about cultures, different way of thinking and immersive experiences, which is one of the reasons why I chose to do a European summer program, which is where I met Mr. Gibson. So that's pretty much it. And the main reason why I like to study HR, because I feel like, there's a lack of human touch in business organizations these days. So I feel like this is the one avenue that truly provides immersive experiences and a chance to make human connections. So I feel like, despite all the expansions of AI and everything, I feel like this is an avenue that, pretty much has a strong capability to, help everyone make connections.
Wonderful. Now, what is it like? I mean, what are the things you like about your university and studying there, and what do you think are some of the things that should change?
Change. The main thing that I'm really liking is that because they encourage us to be more proactive, go out in the way, learn more about cultures, all the non-academic materials, and at the same time, I'm liking how they're trying to build a bridge with AI. It's more like human augmented intelligence right now. They're not telling us that AI will replace us, but rather how to coexist with AI and how that can be used to transform workplaces.
Mm.
And one thing that I think the university should really change or make an improvement is work towards providing a more holistic guidelines on how to navigate the job market, if that makes sense, and how to maybe have an access throughout the Europe or something like that. But I feel like, that is an avenue that hasn't been explored that much.
Okay. Yes. Now, I mentioned it at the beginning. We met last year, pretty much 1 year ago, July 2025, in Lille in the north of France, and you signed up for a summer program there, which is actually going into its 22nd year or something this year. And it's always quite an experience because people come from all four corners of the world. In our course, we had a small cohort, right? So we had a few people from Indonesia, I think, from Mexico and from Russia, right? In our group, and you from Bangladesh, I think. And so 1 year later, is there something you remember, something that stuck with you. And if there is a long silence now, then we'll end this session, and I will thank you for coming. And I'm taking a big risk here.
Yeah, I would actually say, surprisingly, all the exercises we did regarding reflections and how they can, help us, improve our thinking capabilities. I think that, we did various activities regarding that, even group works. And that is something I was surprised to see being directly interlinked in my HR courses of this year. There's much more emphasis on how reflection is important and how it just helps us to be a better versions of ourselves. So yeah, that is something
Mm.
that's a memory that is quite fresh still now.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. Now, one more question I have for you before we probably jump into an activity. Now, you are preparing your future career right now. To what
Right.
extent do you feel that you yourself have agency in this? So, to what extent are you building your future story, your own future, or to what extent is this built with others, or maybe even by others?
I think it's largely due to our own choices. I feel like we really need to go out, market ourselves, if that makes sense, and be proactive throughout the time. I feel like that's what's the main deciding factors, because I feel like maybe compared to the different times, I think it's much more competitive right now, and there are so many academic materials that are available right now. That's something everyone is including in their expertise. So I feel like everyone needs to market themselves even more competitively right now, and I think at the same time, these are being, my experience, these are sort of being co-created with, I would say, industry professionals or the academic mentors, because I think they're providing us a platform to express ourselves and also, a chance to network like this one right now. So I feel
Mm.
like, yeah, that would be my
Mhm.
answer.
Wonderful. Yes, B, you raised your hands. You have a question or a comment. It was your cat, probably.
I was, yes, stroking the cat, and it caught my hand moving.
Wonderful.
A Bond villain. Terrible Bond villain.
Fantastic. Okay, does anybody have a question to Jennifer and Rasul? We come back to them later on, but before we jump into an activity, any questions so far? No. So I think, Jennifer, you had a great idea, a great prompt about building the university of the future. So we already had the museum of 2045. So why not the university, or maybe it will not even be called university, but something else. So a space where people can learn for their future careers. Now, don't worry about things like being realistic or budgets or administration or legal frameworks or parents or anything like that. Just think about the kind of university you would like to see for your grandchildren, children, grandchildren in the future, to avoid maybe some of the pains that you yourselves had when you were at university and some of the possibilities you see now as a professional that could go into learning. So I have prepared two breakout rooms. So maybe we could take a bit of time to just discuss things. So add ideas. Shall we give them any more prompts, Jennifer? Or
Yeah, I would like to. I just did something with my learning community that's a role play game called In This World. It takes about 2 hours, so I can't take you through the whole process, but you basically go through what kind of elements make up learning, what kind of truths are there today we can work from, and then you basically take an element and say, but in this world, it works completely different or it stays the same. So you build a new world around things that already exist or not. I can give you an example. So we created a world that's called basically World of Learn Porn, because we were coming from food porn in this one, and learning's just, they don't consume, they're hungry for learning. So learning is basically one of these senses we have, like hunger. So learning is part of us. And also, everybody has individual tastes when it comes to learning, like they have individual tastes when it comes to food. There's like pop-up shops, like pop-up restaurants that you can only have for a limited time. You're learning with all your senses. So this is one of the worlds we created, and I still really find very fascinating because it's something we never think about. And like, how do we make people learn hungry? And this really stuck with me, this one.
Beautiful. Beautiful example. So that's also an idea to start with a theme, like restaurant, eating, and so on, and then related to learning, but it can be any other theme, obviously. So I made random breakouts. Do you want to be in a breakout as well, Jennifer?
Sure.
Okay, good. So here we go. So I will open all the rooms and I will come around and especially to the room where Jennifer is not in. So if you need some prompting. And so enjoy the creation of the future. Perhaps we could just see where we stand right now to compare ideas, and then we can jump back in and take it from there. Who would like to share from my room? Tobias, maybe?
Yeah, okay, perfect. I immediately when joining, I had to think of Caroline mentioning the zoo. So we started with the Zoo University or Zooversity, something like
University.
this. Yes. And then we went on from there that the zoo is maybe a bit too caged in. So we want something to be a bit more expansive and inclusive. Because also a really fascinating idea that we had in discussion was the theory or the idea of trades, that every parents want their kids to come to university because this is the great way to learn, obviously. But trades are really a cool profession to learn. And in so many ways, we devalue trades and learning some handicraft at the moment. So these are the strings that we currently played around with. Correct me
Yeah,
if I forgot something.
that's right. So we also
Teresa
compared.
was just mentioning something as well.
Yeah, so Caroline mentioned the push. Parents tend to push their kids into universities where you get a lot of knowledge. I think it's the same in France. Maybe a little different in Germany. It's a bit more varied, not much. Okay. So, yes, so bringing trades back into the field, especially because knowledge is so cheap these days with AI, right? So it's more about knowing how to do things than knowing things. Okay. What about the other room? Where do you stand so far before we go back into the breakouts?
I think we dissolved university. University no longer exists. So learning is anywhere and everywhere. We talked about learning on a cruise, up in the air, on a holodeck, or with, what was that called, Jerome? The portal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like using portals. I don't know if you've seen these installations in cities, but there's basically one in Vienna and one in Seoul or something like that. And also following you're making it more immersive, like for example going into a job and seeing if it's for you or not before you do it, but also in general making learning more collective and immersive as an experience.
Yeah. So get rid of the structure with classrooms and so on, but going into the world. Okay. Fantastic. Sounds good. It's a very old idea. Who was it? Who was it again walking around Socrates, no? He had this thing about walking around with people in the world and prompting them with questions instead of telling them. So it's not a new idea, really.
Yes.
But but we seem to have forgotten about this. Okay, fantastic. Let's jump right back in. Same teams, so you can continue your thoughts. Teresa wanted to share something. Jerome, you say wanted to share something, so you can continue sharing. And maybe by the end of the next 7 minutes, we should have something like a, let's say, yeah, not a pitch. It sounds very corporate, but some kind of summary of what our future non-university or zoo university should look like. Okay, here we go. I open the breakouts again. It's interesting to maybe we could go back if necessary, a third round, but it's interesting to see this develop. In my group, in the group I had the chance to be with, we ended up with the word playground. Does anybody want to explain? And also the word society came up
Yeah,
quite a lot.
yeah.
And being more connected with society and not disconnected from society, creating some kind of university ivory tower of being intellectual. So anybody wants to share?
I can quickly explain playground. Aliona has probably gotten the emails through CETAR USA, and I've been wanting to be able to practice doing activities virtually, trying out breakout rooms, what works, what doesn't. And so I finally, after 2 years of procrastination, just put out an email, playground. I use the word sandbox, which comes from the tech world. That's where they used to play around, try things. The point is, you can make mistakes. You're not the expert. Somebody else will know probably what you're looking for. So I'm calling it now, I'm going to playground because I don't think sandbox translates as well globally, but playground does. And I've had some invitations and I'm looking at ways to expand it. So you guys will hear about it.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Yeah, playground. Also, I mean, in my book, I call this the subtitle of my book is rehearsals, right? So learning experiences are rehearsals for life. So
Yeah.
basically, in a rehearsal, you can make mistakes, and in learning, you can make mistakes. And we have this kind of
Yeah.
we still have this kind of culture in most academic or also primary education that you're sanctioned for making mistakes, right? Which is often traumatic for people, I think, and not very productive.
Yeah.
And a competitive system of grades and who's doing better or not. Verisol knows what I'm talking about. Uh, and you just had an assessment today, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Yes, so we also had the societal aspect in there, and B, I think you had the example of people walking around and learning from people.
Yes, in Germany there, and Tobias, you knew the name, right? The Stein.
Schornsteinfeger, the chimney cleaners, basically.
Yes, and they actually can't get. I think they have to be paid by people in the society and get through that way. And we all said that it would be great if you gave back to society. And Tobias had a great example with his partner. So
Yeah, yeah. We also compared. Oh, Tobias, you want to share or?
I can, of course, yeah. I was like my first other. We went to different experiences, like from Switzerland to Germany, and I told the group that I also had some experience living in Colombia, and my partner back then, I literally got to know in working doing a social year in a kindergarten, where she was originally doing a law degree, but was obliged to give back to society while doing the law degree, working also in the kindergarten that I was volunteering in. So this is where I got to meet my Colombian partner back then, which I found really interesting because I mean it was literally doing social work while learning something else, and it was really
Yeah.
fruitful for everybody, including the kids, or especially the kids.
Wonderful. That's great. Now, I have a feeling that the other group is even much more radical. You were already much further away, blow the whole thing up. You are the rebels, right? So, where are you right now? Where did you end up? Anyone wants to share from the other group? Aliona, Jerome?
Jennifer, you're good at summarizing.
But I made it sound so corporate. I'm so sorry. But it's basically we found the Learning Adventure Club. For those who've been following me, I don't know the group probably doesn't know, but my newsletter is called Learning Adventures. There's even a sticker of me being the learning adventurous. So this is a theme I've been playing around with for a while. And I personally think it's the same reason, Bernd, you just mentioned, because adventures give us room to fail. Because an adventure doesn't have to succeed. And I think what we were discussing now was how much of an adventure it can be because people will not feel safe. So Jerome had a system of choose your own adventure basically for university, but you can only choose something you really want to do once. And then you have to do other things that you might not want to or vibe with at the beginning to learn to broaden your horizon. And Aliona brought in that it would like push you as a human being to do that. So I think this is it's a adventure learning based thing. It's not a university, so I'm not sure how to call it. But and then probably within 12 months, 24 months, whatever, you get to know yourself really well, but also the world, and collect skills along the way that will also be valuable for different things. We're moving into skill-based learning anyway, so who needs a degree if you can have skills?
Wonderful. Very interesting. I had a question in mind and now it slipped away. Yes, the adventure. I mean that. Yes. I mean in the experience world, we have this. I don't remember who came up with this framework, but we have the skimmers, the swimmers, and the divers, right? So the skimmers that are basically, yeah, they just want to maybe just want to watch or just want to participate. Maybe not the first to jump in for the adventure, but we should design for them as well. And the swimmers, they're happy to participate and to do things actively. And the divers, they're all in, right? So they take the highest risks. So we always need to make sure that that all three categories feel safe and maybe everybody gets a little bit out of their comfort zone, but only as much as they are kind of comfortable with, right? Yeah. So yeah. Interesting. I feel that these two ideas are almost merging now, right? So the playground and the adventure. No, B.
Well, I was going to say it sounds like different paths.
Oh,
Like if you're on the path of an adventure or you're on the path of knowledge or being a hairdresser, whatever, that you're just on a path.
yes. Yes. That's right. Yeah. I mean, we had this quick discussion with Jennifer before when we talked about storytelling. There is this very, very old form of storytelling, the hero's journey, that a lot of people use also as as a metaphor for learning and transformation. Joe Pine put it in his book, Transformation Economy, recently. Again, B and Caroline, you certainly know, and Aliona, you certainly know Bastian Künzel, who a few years ago wrote The Learner's Journey, which is based on not the Joseph Campbell framework, but a simplified one with 8 stages instead of 12. But then also there is that the hero's journey is more and more challenged, right? Because it's too linear, it's too individual, it is too masculine also in a way, because it's not for us to conquer the world. But yeah, so there's also, for example, are you familiar with the carrier bag theory of fiction? Anybody? No? No? Jennifer,
Ursula Le Guin.
Yeah, that's right. Jerome, do you want to share something?
No, it's funny. I just heard about it a few months ago and got her little, pamphlet of it, and I have
Yes.
yet to read it. It's on my pile of things to read.
Yes, Jennifer, perhaps? You're on mute.
I did read it some time ago. I came into contact with it through Christopher, of course, and I
Christopher
read it.
Morrison,
And
yeah.
what I remember is that we all imagine that the first stories that people told were violent.
Yeah.
But what if they weren't?
Mm.
What if the things that are left over on walls are violent, but the stories that we've been telling each other is how the first person made the first carrier bag and
Yeah.
not the first weapon, and how that would change our look, how we look at stories. Because, as you said, the hero's journey, it's very male and very egotistical.
Yeah.
And all the things I don't think serve our societies anymore. I read a very nice quote today about how the future will be all about ecosystems and networks. And if you want to be part of the story, you have to tell stories collectively. That's basically how we came together today to build a future together through story.
Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. And basically she challenges also the idea of human evolution, right? So that the image that came to mind immediately when I read this little booklet was the first scene of Kubrick's 2001 Space Odyssey, where you have the apes and then suddenly one of the apes picks up a bone, uses it as a weapon or throws it in the air, and then it becomes the spaceship, right? So for the rest of the film. So human evolution in a nutshell. And then I had this idea that, and Ursula Le Guin had the idea that, yeah, we were hunters, but we were also gatherers, right? So maybe what really brought us forward was the container, be it a carrier bag or maybe the cave where we could keep things fresh and so on. So not to be able to not to have to go out there every day to get things, but to build on stuff we already have, right? And so in terms of story or the adventure, that would be rather going out there and having different experiences, rather than trying to slaying the dragon, right? Um, yes, Tobias.
So now, just one tiny again addition to the idea of ecosystems and storytelling as well. I really love to combine like systems thinking and the idea of gardening basically to systems thinking and storytelling as well. Because if you imagine that every tiny plant is a story that has their own right to exist, basically, you can still look at a meta view at the whole garden, and then it's not just one plant anymore. It's the whole ecosystem that lives and thrives on the conditions that we're creating together. And this is always a really cool thing. And this is exactly the criticism that I have with the hero's journey as well, because it's always just one individual conquering everything, and it doesn't account for the environment basically that makes or even breaks the hero's journey basically.
Yes, Jennifer.
So two thoughts about that. I personally think I've been working on a systematic view of storytelling called the story tapestry. It's not a garden, but it's basically little notes of stories. And I think it's very interesting. If you look at my life, I started out in a working class family, and I moved very far from my origins and also from the kind of thinking that I had back in the day. And what moved me here is stories, basically. Like books were my window into the world, and stories were my window into the world. And the internet, then, which also was full of stories back in the day. So I think you can actually, if you meet people where they stand, stories can move them far if you give them little notes, like Jerome was talking about, like giving them steps to take and to choose from next. I think there's so much power in this. And I also been experimenting with quest-based learning that basically comes from gaming. So learning quests, giving people a quest and be like, solve this, have fun doing it, but I will give you some resources, but besides that, you have to figure out on your own how to get there. And I think that's something that we rarely do anymore in learning, just giving people something and not telling them how to do it in the end.
Well, I think Varisul remembers quite a few quests I put you on. So sending you out through the town, talking to people, finding places that are innovative or not innovative enough. Yeah, that's right. And the idea is also not to have, I mean, very often when we look at case studies are very popular in universities, right? So basically you give out these things, fictitious or real cases, and then you expect basically one answer, right? So the teacher, the professor already knows the answer. But a quest is open end, right? So maybe they succeed, maybe they don't. Maybe they come up with something that you as a quest initiator have not even thought of, and hopefully they do, right? So they probably have a much better idea because they're a group, a team, than you as an individual. Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to come back to the title you mentioned earlier on. I already forgot it, Jennifer. Emotional. You call yourself an
Learning
educational.
adventurer.
Yes, and before that, you said something with a story, educational story or something.
Educational storyteller. But it's like
Educational storyteller. Okay. So what is an educational storyteller?
so I don't know if you've noticed, but learning in in the corporate world very often sucks big time. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Tobias knows what I'm talking about, but it's what I call glorified PowerPoints. Is a lot of what we encounter in our spaces, and I always told people that I want to bring fun back into learning, but I think it's more like joy. I've been thinking about the term lately, what I want to bring back into learning. And a lot of people come through the German educational system and they hate learning when they get out of it because we've trained curiosity out of them by the end. And so they hit the corporations at a point where they're like, I don't want to learn anything anymore. But we all know here in the room that it's impossible to work in an environment that doesn't need learning. So they need to learn things, but they are very reluctant to do so or even opposed to it. So, what storytelling does is giving you a room for imagination and a safe space to try something in your head, basically, that you've not done before and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
So, whenever I encounter a topic that is, I call them burnt earth. One of those topics these days, unfortunately, is sustainability. Sustainability is very much burnt earth these days because we've been pushing people with narratives they do not resonate with, apparently. So when I encounter such a topic, I take it out of reality most of the time. So I make it completely fictional. And in fictionalizing it, people can think about this topic without realizing they're thinking about this topic. So that's what an educational storyteller does. It can also be reality based, of course, if the topic makes it easier. For example, like telling really real sales stories, like talking to the people who really do it, collecting their scenarios, what is realistic, can also be part of it. But I actually really thrive when it gets completely fictional.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Yes. There's a very interesting comment by B. We'll come to that in a minute, but Jerome, you had your hand up first.
I was thinking that while Jennifer was talking, I'd love to see in the university of the future, and frankly, in the education systems of the future, more embrace of not knowing as a form of wisdom, just
Yeah.
because we are so it's such a gift to not know something,
Yeah.
really, and we don't put as much. This is sort of a response to like the corporatized learning, and also to shift away from individual learning. That collective learning is like, and then I can imagine a lesson plan where someone says like, "That's great. I'm so glad you don't know. Let's see if we can all find this out together. And maybe there's not an answer,
Mm.
and we can all not know together, and that's okay."
That
Mm.
sometimes happens to me, but it also spooks students a lot, interestingly enough. So I teach AI and content creation at one of the universities, and I can't know everything about AI. It's impossible. So sometimes there are questions like, is this and this possible? And I'm like, I don't know. We should
Mm.
find out if it is. And if
Mm.
it isn't, it might be possible in 5 years. It's a very interesting field to teach because there's so much uncertainty in it at the moment.
Mm.
May I just
Yeah.
quickly share a story because it relates to your comment, Jennifer. I don't know if it's a real story or not. It's very popular. Maybe you heard it or read it. It's about a student who was late for lecture and he saw a problem on the board and came home and worked on it really hard and solved the problem. Next time came back and showed that solution. And the professor was like, "Oh wow, I actually put it down and told that there is no solution to that problem." He missed that part.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not knowing can be a gift. Yeah, wonderful.
I think that is true, which
Mm.
is
Yeah, because and that's also, I mean, there's this thing about the outsider bonus, right? So if you have a technical problem in a field, it's very often people who are not directly involved who can bring solutions because they don't have the same frames and frameworks that the others already have. Yeah, we come to you, Tobias, in a minute, but I would like to react to B's comment in the chat that she said this idea that there is a slice of information that we all need to know, history, sociology. I think that is even dangerous. Everyone has a story. It reminds me of The Danger of the Single Story, right? By what's her name?
Medici.
Medici. Yes. And yes, yeah, absolutely. Can you elaborate on that, B?
It just with what even Jennifer was saying, this idea of being in a state of ambiguity where everything is not known and being able to hold that space, it is hard. I mean, because we want structure, we want to be, I think you said earlier, we want to be safe. And so to have ambiguity, chaos, and these things that are part of a story activated, we need to be able to hold them better. So I think it's great, Jennifer, if that's what you're doing, is helping people. And I think I work with comedy, and I think that's also this idea of creation and playing with creation.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And also the curriculum that is, it's often very, well, either it's based on what teachers think students need to know, or what the university thinks, or what the culture thinks they should know. But what if somebody's from another culture? I mean, we also have these old colonial relics, right? So that I spoke to a student from Morocco the other day, and it was scary to see how much of their education is still French based and European based in history classes and not African based, right? And so quite scary. Yes, Tobias, you've had your hand up for a while.
No, perfect. What was my thought? Ah, yeah, exactly. The idea of starting the journey, I think it's literally where we're just talking about different ideas and ideologies where myths come from. The Asian thought that you have to do the first step on a journey and then you experience your adventure. What you said, Jennifer, about learning adventures as well, and I have to admit myself that I love just looking at 10 books before starting even the first step. So I have to admit grasp my own nose here, basically. But this is one idea that's really sticking at me with me at the moment to just go out there and experience first, and then maybe in hindsight or while I'm walking, read up on the theory or the concept that others have been thinking about in that space.
Yeah, but it's also about giving people different access points, right? So your access point would be the books, maybe, but somebody else.
Yeah.
I I had a very avant-garde maths teacher when I was 10 years old, so that was in the 1970s. So long before David Kolb, published his learning cycle and things like that. And it was early maths, right? So calculations and stuff. And he always introduced a story about a little boy called Max. I still remember the name. I don't remember the name of the teacher, but the name of the boy. And Max had a problem. And so, what are we going to do with Max? So there was a bit of storytelling there. And then we had to come up with a solution. And it was very often a calculation. So we had to add up or subtract or whatever. So basically, we learned maths with Max, right? With stories. And then later on, we changed teachers. And I was totally lost. So this was the right access point for me, but then also some of my peers, other students, they were happy with the other teacher because it was more about, why do we need these stories? It was more about the intellectual challenge of solving a problem. And but for me, something was missing. Why should we solve the problem? It's only numbers, right? So yes, but everybody has a different access point, right? Aliona.
There is something else I wanted to say, but I wanted to share the name of the book, The Math Curse, that I read with my kids recently. And basically, the math teacher told the kids that math is everywhere. And the next morning, the child woke up and he saw math problems everywhere. How many pints in a gallon or whatever? And if so many kids do this and so many kids do this, how do we do that together? But what I wanted to follow up is B's comment and that idea of storytelling. I wanted to share an experience. I had absolutely wonderful experience at one of the sessions at a multilingual learning conference. And there was a high school social studies teacher who works with bilingual children, well, not really bilingual, with children of Hispanic background in the United States. So she teaches social studies while teaching them language too, because they're not very good at in language. And this in her session, she was talking about stories, history in particular, but she challenged us with the questions like, who wrote that story? Who do you want to tell your story? And she was like, her point was, you need to learn the language to be able to tell the story. And she showed like a history book and like US history with Abraham Lincoln on the cover. And it's like, who do you think who decided to put this person on the cover? Why is he the representation of the American history? So she's like an amazing teacher. I think it's pretty rare these times, but this ambiguity, it comes at a cost. Because I think most of you will agree that when you know something for sure, it gives you comfort. When you don't know it, it's like, okay, I should learn to live with that and yeah, find solutions without knowing.
Yeah, that's the I mean, B mentioned in the comment, history is written by the victors. Yes, I had a conversation in London with a couple of people about a very, very popular and successful theme park in France, Puy du Fou, which is now also going to open in Britain, I believe, China. Before the war, they were talking about Russia as well. And I have big reservations about this park. I went there once, and it was
My telephone.
and because it is basically rewriting history, right? So I mean, Hollywood did the same, but and it is a bit like an adventure park, but there's also a danger in this because when you're part of these stories, you're basically in a very fun and playful, emotional way, like with films, you basically get the wrong story, right? And then it suddenly sounds real because it was with wonderful acting and staging and stuff. So there's also a danger there. Jennifer.
So I was thinking about language and story because I'm German, so English isn't my first language, but I started writing stories, of course, in German. I started, as I said, very young. I started with writing stories for my group of friends where we were like the characters in these science fiction stories that I wrote. They were probably really bad. I haven't read them in a long time, but it's very interesting because I also learned English on the internet. I would basically say through writing stories and reading stories and role playing. So I learned storytelling by at one point inventing my own characters in my own language, but also learning how to write a story by using characters that were already established. And I would say I am a different person or a different writer in different languages. So I would personally say I'm much funnier in English. But it's really interesting how it shifts your character to tell a story in a different language.
Yeah, it's interesting also when you have fewer words, right? You have fewer choices, and maybe sometimes you're more effective with a language, with a foreign language. I have the same feeling in English and even in French. French is not my strongest language, but I live in France, so sometimes, I can express myself quite accurately because I don't look for 25 different synonyms, right? Yes, B.
I was just going to go back to what Aliona said. This idea, and what you said too, this idea of a story. And now people all over with AI, with everything that we have now, can create and manipulate and make any story they want. And the more money you have, the more you have control of that. So I think this idea of being able to hold ambiguity, being able to hold chaos becomes more important once we have this area that is such a gray spot, of what is true and what is not true.
I love this conversation. It's really great. Tobias, we come to you. Oh, you're on mute.
No, okay. Yeah, B, what you just said as well, and literally what we've been covering on so many angles as well. I really love the idea of narrative competence. I know it's a field that's already defined somehow, but I'm trying to redefine it for myself as well at the moment. And these underlying narratives, be it from Western culture or simply, how to see angles or underlying currents basically in the bigger stories that we all hold for true at the moment. This is for me a really important future skill if you want to think of the future Zooey University as well.
Wonderful. Yes. And welcome, Esther. You missed most of it, but maybe you get a little bit of the vibe for the last minutes. and the recording will be available soon as well. I would like to, before we say goodbye, I would like to bring Varisul in again with a question. Very personal question, but I sent it to you before, so maybe you're prepared. What is the future story that you would like to see unfold in your life?
Something that integrates I would say human interactions and immersion more, that moves beyond, all the mechanical academic values and, works, towards more stewardship and collaboration. That is something, I'd really like my story to unfold in.
Wonderful. Brilliant. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jennifer, for your insights, for the great ideas, and thank you, everyone, for co-creating the universities, adventure parks, and jungles and playgrounds of the future, which sorry to tell you, Esther, which will replace sooner or later the university.
I mean, Esther is working on a playground, so I think she's already
Absolutely.
there.
Yes. Yeah. So this is kind of a secret circle here, right? So we are the rebels. We are the ones who want to change the system. So thank you very, very much for all your ideas, and hope to see you next month. We don't have a date, we don't have speakers yet, but it will be announced pretty shortly on LinkedIn. The recording, part of the recording will be available on LinkedIn and YouTube as well. And for all the new joiners, hope you can join next time as well, or one of the next times. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Varisul, for making yourself available and sharing a few things with us. Good to see you again. Hope to be able to see you in person in the UK next time in the UK. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a good
Thank
evening
you.
and
Nice to meet you,
wonderful
everyone.
day. And I have to say something in Germany because there's so many people from Germany. Schönen Abend.
Tschüss.
Ciao, thank you so much. It was awesome.
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ciao. Jennifer, I'll invite you later as well.
Please do.